A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a landmark legal battle, Harvard University has challenged the Trump administration in federal court over the controversial decision to withhold $2.6 billion in federal funding. This high-stakes case, which unfolded on Monday, has drawn significant attention as it pits one of the nation's oldest and most prestigious universities against the federal government. The Trump administration has imposed sanctions on Harvard for several months, accusing the institution of fostering liberalism and anti-Semitism, while demanding stricter oversight of its operations. Harvard's response is not just about funding. It represents a broader fight for academic freedom and institutional autonomy. At the heart of the lawsuit is the assertion that the government's funding cuts are illegal and unjustified. Harvard's attorney, Stephen Lehitsky, argued during the hearing that the case is fundamentally about the government's attempt to control the inner workings of the university. He emphasized that the consequences of these funding cuts could be dire, potentially leading to the loss of vital research initiatives, damaged careers, and even the closure of laboratories. It's not about Harvard's conduct, Lehitsky stated. It's about the government's conduct toward Harvard. The case is being presided over by U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs, who has previously ruled in favor of Harvard in related matters, including a temporary block against the administration's efforts to restrict international student admissions. On Monday, Harvard sought to convince Judge Burroughs to reverse the series of funding freezes imposed by the government. If successful, this ruling could revive a vast array of scientific and medical research projects that have suffered due to the funding cuts. In contrast, government attorney Michael Velchik defended the administration's actions, arguing that it has the authority to cancel grants based on its priorities, which include combating anti-Semitism in the wake of the Hamas-led attacks on Israel in October 2023. Velchik contended that Harvard has not adequately addressed the rise of anti-Semitism on campus, pointing to instances of protests where anti-Semitic slogans were chanted and attacks on Jewish students occurred. Harvard claims the government is anti-Harvard. I reject that, Velchik asserted, highlighting the government's commitment to supporting Jewish students and faculty at the university. However, Judge Burroughs challenged Velchik's arguments, questioning the government's rationale for canceling grants without providing substantial evidence of anti-Semitism in the research itself. She described the government's approach as mind-boggling and criticized the lack of documentation or procedures to evaluate whether Harvard has taken sufficient steps to combat anti-Semitism. The consequences of that in terms of constitutional law are staggering, she warned. I don't think you can justify a contract action based on impermissible suppression of speech. Velchik maintained that the case ultimately hinges on the government's discretion in allocating billions of dollars in research funding. Harvard's lawsuit alleges that the Trump administration has engaged in a retaliatory campaign against the university following its refusal to comply with demands from a federal anti-Semitism task force earlier this year. This task force's demands included sweeping changes to Harvard's policies and practices regarding anti-Semitism. In a notable development, a second lawsuit filed by the American Association of University Professors, along with its Harvard faculty chapter, has been consolidated with Harvard's case, further amplifying the stakes involved. As this legal battle unfolds, it has become a focal point for discussions surrounding academic freedom, government oversight, and the intersection of politics and education. The outcome of this case could have far-reaching implications not only for Harvard University, but for institutions of higher learning across the country. As both sides prepare for what promises to be a contentious legal showdown, many are watching closely to see how the court will navigate the complex issues at play. Will the government be able to justify its funding cuts, or will Harvard prevail in its fight to protect its academic integrity and independence? The answers to these questions may shape the future of higher education in America. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.